I have this thing where I get older, but just never wiser. Midnights become my afternoons. Let's go!
DJ number 1.
When my depression works the graveyard shift all of the people, I ghosted stand there in the room. I should not be left to my own devices. They come with prices and prices. I end up in crisis. I wake up screaming from dreaming. One day I'll watch as you're leaving, 'cause you got tired of my scheming. For the last time. There goes my net zero. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. At tea time, everybody agrees. I'll stand directly at the sun, but never in the mirror. It must be exhausting, always rooting for the anti-hero. When everything you get is everything that you want, it resents what you prefer. My finger on the trigger. Sometimes I feel like everybody is a sexy baby, and I'm a monster on the hill.
Ooh, yeah!
Too big to hang out, slowly lurching toward your favorite city. Pierced through the heart, but never killed. I know exactly what goes on. Did you hear my covert narcissism? Like disguise as altruism, like some kind of congressman. All this time, I wake up screaming from dreaming. One day I'll watch as you're leaving, and life will lose all its meaning. For the last time.
Hello! So, as near as I can figure, the issue is that my computer part configuration has been stable for a while, right? With only minor changes when parts get swapped out, like in terms of like power consumption. And I think that the issue wound up being that my motherboard has an option.
Jack is love, Jack is light, cheeky, smiley face.
Oh, Catalina Gearbox, thank you for the $5 dono. The issue I think ended up being that there is a setting on my motherboard where called AI overclocking, where essentially there's like an AI algorithm thing that monitors like your PC's usage of different like power, RAM, etc. And I think what was happening was I swapped out my like my RTX 2080 for an RTX 4080, and I have a beefy power supply unit, right? But I think that the AI overclocking was still applying a lot of the same power management stuff that no longer works with the 4080. And I think it was basically spiking the power supply unit and running into problems. So so basically I shifted my AI overclocking to XMP, which is baseline board basically, and I'm hoping that does it. If it doesn't, I was able to also apply a few more security things. I was also able to go through the RAM. It doesn't appear to be a RAM issue. All the RAM is fine. But then I also found that there was like there's apparently like an anti-cheat thing that can cause blue screening issues, and it just remains in your computer forever. It's from like games like PUBG or like a variety of MMOs. I think Rift and AI Ion Online had it. It's called I think it's called X Hunter 1. And it can cause a lot of system instability. So I also like reg edited that out of existence. It was able to turn on like a core protection service that wasn't in use before to just make sure like my memory isn't being siphoned away by some like weird old software that isn't even used by my computer anymore. So I ran a lot of diagnostics. I ran, malware checks, negative on all of that, so that's good. But if my messing about in the motherboard settings doesn't fix the problem, then what it probably is like a faulty power supply unit. So I'll probably buy one of those, like, and have it like quick shipped to me. That's very frustrating. We are back, Charlie. Hello, Kairyu. Yeah, the Asus Maximum XIs have been having issues with AI overclock. It doesn't like those 13 and 14 gen cores. You can go to Micro Center in St. Louis Park and get one. True, Paladin. And that is likely what I would do. Unless I can get a better deal on Newegg with their pre-Black Friday deals. Make Jack faded again. You guys got me so cooked last night. You have no idea. You have no idea. So, yeah, everything in my computer should be friends with one another, but could be like power cables just are bad. It could be like the power supply unit is bad. And my fear is that if I replace the power supply unit, then it's something wrong with the 4080, and that would just suck ass. I legit have no idea how you took 3 edibles and remained awake. I took 4. But yeah, it was an interesting night to say the least. Newegg, indeed, Gamergy. Oh God. Biden blasted. I do really like that emote. I like it that it's going fast. I have a hard time not eating half a batch when I make spicy cookies. Fair. A good bed needs a headboard? True. Well, let me put it this way, Dylan. If you want someone to sleep with you, you need a headboard. If you're just by yourself, don't need a headboard. Not necessary. But if you want to do the sex, you need a headboard. Do I misremember, or was it Newegg that was recently called out by computer journalists? I have no idea. I haven't been plugged into that for a while. I'm brutally surprised by how much I like that anti-hero that I get mix. But why? I don't know, just like an etiquette thing. Like, can you just use your hands to eat, like, anything you want? Sure. But if you do that in front of someone you want to have sex with, they're probably not going to be interested. Just scooping the mac and cheese out of the bowl with your bare hands. You can do that when you're gremlining by yourself. But if you want to get laid, probably not the best thing to do. Just mac and cheese all over the face. Are you in the mood? Dogs don't scoop. Exactly, spooky ghost. You get it. That that day George Costanza double dipped. Wait, you people eat food in bed? Wait, what? Preferably a padded headboard with posts. Oh my god, you guys are all so horny. Me want mac and cheese. Me also want sex. What me do? You use a knife and fork and spoon. Or at least one of those. We are horny, we're your chat. Oh my. Oh my, Paladin. I can see that. Okay. I'm really hoping that I'm right about this AI thing. You're confused? All I'm saying is it's an issue of like just having your shit together. Like if a lady comes over to your place and you don't have a headboard, she's not gonna want to fuck you. The same way if you eat with your bare hands, if eat a bowl of mac and cheese with your bare hands in front of a lady, she's also probably not gonna want to fuck you. Reject utensils, return to caveman sex. You return to caveman sex after you use the utensils. That's part of what makes it so hot. Guys, eat it like yeah, no, if you're having a hard time understanding what I mean by this, okay? If you're having a hard time understanding what I mean, let's find it. Yeah.
Ron DeSantis loves sticking his fingers where they don't belong. And we're not just talking about
Yeah, does this
pudding.
do it for you?
DeSantis has his dirty fingers all over senior entitlements.
Are you watching this guy
Like
eat this
cutting milk
pudding?
here,
And you're just
slashing
like, oh yeah,
Social
that's
Security,
someone I want to smooch.
even raising our retirement age. Tell Ron DeSantis to keep his pudding fingers
Me
off our
likey
money.
the pudding.
Oh, and somebody get this man a spoon.
Make America Great Again Inc. is responsible for the...
Nah, you eat pudding with a spoon. And then you have sex like an adult. Okay? That's how that works. I'm just telling you guys true facts. Dead domain raid incoming. Hello everybody. How you doing? We just got our stream back and hopefully tech issues are resolved. And I'll drop a follow to Dead Domain. How you doing, folks? My name's Riverboat Jack. I talk about the news and politics and sometimes pop culture, movies and games and stuff. How you doing? We're gonna be jumping back into talking about organizing to build political power with an organizer from the DSA named Gamergy. And yeah, Riverboat Jack, want to hear a story? Sure. We lost a raider. We had 69. Damn. Your top is really cute. Thank you. It's a dress. It's just a little A-line thing. Thank you very much, Turtle Boom. Ghost Module, bonjour. Dead Domain told me to raid. Might I don't know if I'm allowed to say your username as an alabaster disaster. Hello, I'm just gonna call you Mighty. Thank you for the $2 super chat. Ida Pimp, Udaho, welcome, welcome, friendos. I'm here from Dead Domain. Hell yes. Anyway, we've just been talking about the necessity of headboards. You can have a really comfortable bed, but if you don't have a headboard, people aren't going to want to fuck you. And I made the analogy that not having a headboard is like having a bowl of mac and cheese, and your lady friend comes over to have a bowl of mac and cheese with you, and she sits down, and you just stick your hand right in the mac and cheese and start shoveling it into your face. That's the equivalent of not having a headboard. They're also very important for sound effect reasons. This is true, and also just kinky logistics. Dead Domain is based. Shots fired, holy shit. What? How many of you are out there eating macaroni and cheese with your bare hands? I clearly overestimated you. Why is Dead Domain so hot, though? Look, they're a cutie patootie. What can I say? Other than my head, of course. Technically, I have a headboard, but it's on the side of my bed due to space issues. Sounds like pudding cupper on. What? That's what I was using that as a visual. You read my mind, Renaroo. Also, Kyryu, thank you for the 2 gifted tier 1 subs. Honestly, a steel bed frame has been more kink friendly than any headboard I've ever had. I mean, I feel like that may be true. Don't ask questions you really don't want the answer to. Oh no! No! Howdy, folks. Gamergy, do you want to it's my bad. I totally understand if you don't want to come back on again tonight, or if like you have no time. But it'd be lovely to have you. That's a interesting story, poisonous green strawberries. I hope you have better experiences in school. I didn't even ask the question. I can't unthink the answers. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, you guys, we need to cool off. I'm available. Can't let Dead Domain down. Okay. I will hop back on to Discord. We might have to rehash some of the same territory we did in our initial conversation. Ba-da-ba-ba. Ba-da-ba. Okay. Gonna call in here. We had such a big technical snafu at the beginning of stream, so sorry about this. We're gonna rehash some territory.
Hello.
Howdy!
There we are.
There we are. I'm so sorry about all of the
You're
technical
good.
stuff.
You're good. It that happens. Don't worry. Yeah, I got time. So
Okay.
this is why I planned on Friday.
Awesome. Thank you so much. for being so generous with your time. So before we jump into this again, can you introduce yourself, name, pronouns, what you do?
Yeah, I'm Gamergy, he, him. I'm an organizer with the DSA, local chapter in the Midwest. I've been in DSA since 2016 or 17, hard to remember. Been in leadership with my chapter since 2022, or maybe, yeah, 22.
Okay. Um, and what is the DSA for, like, if you're coming into this knowing very little about politics, in a nutshell?
Yeah, DSA is the Democratic Socialists of America. They are the largest socialist organization in the United States, active today. I think it's 70,000 active members right now, which is quite large for given the recent history of socialism in the U.S. They are essentially what's known as democratic socialists. Democratic socialist is a type of socialism that defines itself from the old 20th century type of Marxist Leninism, even though we'll get into the caucus stuff in a bit, which I can explain. But essentially, it's a very large political organization where one thing I really like is how decentralized and autonomous the various different chapters can be for good and bad reasons.
Yeah, and we talked about this a little bit ago, but each chapter is kind of self-regulating, kind of isolated from other chapters, and then they kind of meet together in the middle with national. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'd say even more leaning on like the locality. Like when you see like some, like for instance, anyone who's been focusing on the online stuff recently, the watermelon thing that one of the New York DSA chapters sent out, that was in very poor taste.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that that was a single chapter posting that out. I guarantee, like, people in our chapter looked at it and we talked and we're like, this is ridiculous. And I guarantee 9 out of 10, 99 out of 100 chapters are going to see that and not agree with it. Chapters are governed by their own set of what's called bylaws, which is like a US Constitution, but for their chapter.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain things in place for national that are required regarding chapter bylaws, and it's namely really just like, I think the only big thing that's really been new is a few conventions ago. I think in 2019, they passed something called Resolution 33, which basically put together a formal harassment and grievance officer process. Which,
Okay.
if anyone's familiar with a union, which I know most people in America aren't union anymore, that is basically like a union steward you go to if you have a problem with another member. That's been that's basically national streamlined it for chapters, but chapters also have their own what are called HGOs that handle that sort of thing. But in general, the chapters have pure autonomy over almost anything, and they get mostly free resources from national, like certain things for campaigns or member outreach. You just get really cool tools from national for free because you're part of their org.
Okay. And like who is the DSA kind of appealing to? Like what is it, like I think earlier you said it's kind of like the, basically in a nutshell, like anyone left of Biden, right?
Uh, yeah, I mean it's you start at I like to say like you have like the more moderate wings of DSA, like the moderate caucuses are like Bernie crats.
Mm-hmm.
They're like social democrats, or what we call sock dems. um and that's fine. There's a very large portion of DSA members who are just former Bernie crats who either moved left or had no place to go after the Bernie campaign. And it's really what I like to describe as a big tent leftist project. So you have anywhere from like libertarian socialists to Marxists to Bernie-crats, all of those are members of DSA. I've talked to people from all different ideologies, and we're all together and getting the same things accomplished.
Okay. And like, can you kind of give a rundown of like how you went from being someone who maybe you were always like involved in politics, but like what kind of radicalized you and brought you into the DSA, or like what attracted you to becoming a member of the DSA as opposed to just kind of like existing like and voting every so often, you know?
Yeah, I actually didn't vote until 2016 because let's just say that there's not, I'll get into it with the state of Indiana politics because I'm in Indiana.
Mhm.
Um, we have a very much we're very much what I call a sleeper state. Uh, so basically what happened was I grew up Catholic, and I grew up listening to a lot of like the more radical teachings of Jesus, and that's actually what I've talked to other Christians who are like hardcore socialists because of that. I'm no longer religious, but I started watching early pre-bread tube like Kyle Kalinske in 2010,
Hmm.
and started learning about politics that way. I didn't really get involved until the Bernie campaign and saw that fizzle out. And I reached out to podcaster's writer, um, and said, I don't know what to do because I got really interested in municipal owned broadband. So like city owned broadband, like if you're in
Yeah.
Chicago or New York, city owned internet. I got really into that, and I didn't know where to go with that. I reached out to someone, and they said, "Hey, have you heard of DSA?" So I looked them up through the DSA's official website, and reached out to the chapter contact info, and they asked, "How do I get involved?" And they said, "Hey, we meet at this time. Just come on by and see what we're about." And I went, and I just never left.
All right. And like what you do political organizing, right? So what exactly does
Yes.
that entail for you on like a when you're working on this stuff?
So something that I think is misunderstood about political organizing is that it's hard. Um, it's not. It's more. It's if you're a social, if you can organize your neighbors to come over and like have a big neighborhood grill out, you'll be a great organizer in politics. It's just that simple. There's a saying that is one of my comrades' statuses on our communication says, "Oh, you're a socialist. Name two of your neighbors." It's really because organizing starts at home,
Hmm.
and you don't have to be. You don't even have to be like super social or organizing. Like you could do just internal organizing and getting your chapter to turn out for things. You don't have to like give huge public speeches or anything. You're not unless you're like going to be a politician in DSA, or run for any major position at national, you're generally just going to be like talking with a small group of maybe 10 to 15 people, depending on your chapter size. And it's really just like just talking and figuring out solutions and how to get there. There is a fair amount of knowledge that you have to build up over time. There are certain DSA lingo, such as you'll hear about things like progressive stack, Robert's Rules of Order, which is basically how democracy functions. If you're ever going to like serve on political office, you have to know Robert's Rules of Order, at least the basics of it.
Hmm.
So that's why I always try and push that in when you come into DSA. But
Okay.
it's really just a lot of learning as you go along, and I could go on and on about what type of stuff you'll learn and get there. And it's really just like a learning experience. Like it's not you go there one time, you magically change everything, where you find like it's not like you find religion at
Yeah.
DSA. At least I hope not.
Yeah. From what I've heard, there's a lot of there's a lot of things you could learn at DSA, and I don't think religion is typically one of them. But yeah, so what have you been organizing for, like, right now, for example? Like, what recently? Like, when the
So
DSA, like, at least in your chapter, like, organizes to do something, what are they actually trying to accomplish, and, like, how do they go about doing that?
So I've mentioned this before. Like we have what's called committees,
Hmm.
and each chapter can set up their own different committees on different issues such as
I have
LGBTQ
a
rights,
question for
labor, electoral work,
GAMERGY. Why so big
really any
though?
sort of thing that could be a committee. Someone can bring a proposal for and create one, depending on the chapter bylaws. And like I said, everything is very dependent on your chapter. So
Hmm.
that's one good thing that you should always read the bylaws if you're truly getting involved with the chapter. But like for instance, I'm part of the electoral committee.
Hmm.
I was one of the leads to get a socialist into our local city council, who beat the incumbent the second most powerful person on the city council incumbent in a primary, and it was a total upset.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
and he is now going to be in office in January because he didn't face it's a heavy Democratic district, so he didn't have a Republican opponent in
Yeah.
general.
And so, does the DSA run its own candidates anywhere, or is the DSA mainly running within the Democratic Party? Because I've heard conflicting things from probably from different chapters. Um, like, what is your take on that?
So DSA isn't like it's not legally filed as a political party. So like if you try to register to run as like DSA party, you're not going to appear on the ballot as that.
Yeah.
You basically have to run independent or Democrat, and just 9 out of 10 times it's easier to run as a Democrat. So essentially, what DSA's electoral projects are is an inside outside strategy.
Hmm.
For people who are not familiar with an inside outside strategy, essentially what the DSA's idea is we're going to organize ourselves with within DSA. um, will be inside the Democratic Party, but we're going to be organizing all our goals, policies, and all that stuff just in DSA. While being a Democrat regarding that is more just like playing along to get along, getting things done while you're with other Democrats and Republicans, because their DSA does not have a majority in any sort of city council, or that, at least not that I know of.
Yeah.
So there is like a need to be part in a party, and it makes some state parties very angry, and some are like, oh, we'll tolerate you, but usually they don't appreciate it. And there has been many very big upsets in infiltrating, running as Democrats, and completely usurping the existing establishment. And you can look up many cases of this, and we're actually doing that right now in Indiana.
Okay. So, like, you would say that the DSA is kind of trying to co-opt the existing levers of power in the Democratic Party in a lot of
At
different
least
ways.
at least electorally, that is 100% correct.
Okay.
So there are certain contingents of DSA, even though they're not like close to the majority, but there are certain contingents that want to do what's called a break from the Dems and like do their own independent party thing. Luckily, there are enough people who know that's a very bad idea that are like in leadership and just general membership, who tend to run just on the dim line, really like begrudgingly, like the Vosh thing about that he said in your stream yesterday. What would you rather have, like the bad cake or the piled turd? You want the bad cake. um and it's really just yeah, it's a basically like one thing that we're doing in Indiana is we're doing a thing where we're not only just running candidates on the Dem label, but like actually putting people in positions in the Democratic establishment that are DSA members or at least like DSA aligned. And that way there can't be issues regarding I can't remember the chapter that dealt with it, but there was a city that had a chapter issue where the Democratic Party essentially just purged the DSA members
Hmm.
from the party. And part of our goal of getting some like what are called precinct spots, precinct committee person spots, is part of that is if we hold enough leverage of power inside the Indiana Democrats that way, then they can't just magically purchase from the party resources if we need them.
Yeah, so it does seem like kind of an ongoing battle to take these, pivotal seats in order to, continue to take power within the state Democratic Party. And once kind of a critical mass is achieved, you can kind of do more. Is that kind of, am I picking that up right?
Yeah, essentially that's like part of the goal.
Hmm.
It really depends on like dynamics because some state dems have different setups, but like really that is one thing that is important to know about whoever's like leading electoral projects in your DSA chapter should at minimum know like uh you need to have these like fail safe scenarios where like if the Democrats get really mad at you about something, they can't just purge you like that, like the
Yeah.
chapter I mentioned.
Yeah, needs to have like a certain buffer or protection in different chapters from like the Democratic Party essentially trying to just engage in a bureaucratic war against the DSA. Um,
Yeah, it's just there's like one of the other electoral heads of my chapter.
mhm.
He's a wealth of knowledge, and let's just say if I try to talk to him about the disappointments of the state Democrats here, I just start crying because it's that depressing how like they just completely destroy any good idea in favor of keeping the old establishment together.
So, and that brings up another point, and you kind of touched on this earlier when you mentioned like kind of the stale cake versus the turd. Um, how do you both for yourself personally keep kind of an optimistic view for the future in order to like keep fighting for that? And how do you deal while doing political organizing with people who have just hit a point of deep disillusionment or doomerism regarding like electoral uh, wins or electoral momentum? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, it used to be a lot harder to kind of activate people into not being doomer politically, but I've been pointing this out to everyone, some successes, some not, of saying all you need to do is compare Florida and Tennessee's Republicans to the Minnesota and Michigan Democratic state parties, because these state parties are so entirely different regarding, uh, you know, we all know what Florida and Tennessee are passing with their Republican supermajorities.
Hmm.
And then when you got Michigan and Minnesota passing like paid family leave, LGBTQ protections in the law, abolishing right to work, there's just no comparison.
Yeah.
And something I have been really trying to push, and I am glad I'm seeing this a lot among left online creators, is the fact that politics are very local and you're going to have the most change the easiest way on local politics.
Yep.
One thing that is something that I you really want to focus on is nothing will get changed in your state if you have like both a Republican House Senate and a House and a state House Republicans. Like if you have a Republican trifecta or um at least like the Republican legislator and maybe a Democratic governor,
Hmm.
you're not going to get change done. You have to at least minimum have like a split field. Like for instance, Indiana has a state house and a state senate. Um, there's efforts to flip the state house, which is currently narrowly a supermajority Republican to Democrat by 2030. And if I could just do a little spiel
Yeah, go
on
for it.
politics of Indiana, let's just say there is a massive void in Indiana politics where it seems like there is neither party is motivated to do anything. The Democrats have basically, like I've mentioned, fighting over the last scraps of land that they have established. The Republicans really don't try to run on anything, and people in our broader coalition I've talked to say like the Republicans are like they're Indiana Republicans, like we used to be like a very moderate Republican state. Like it's very, very recent that like we actually had MAGA people in Congress and all. Um, and
Was Indiana Mike Pence's state? Am I remembering that correctly?
yes, and I hate
Yeah.
that we're known for him now. Like we already had a very fragile reputation, and